the week I want to live into. I want us to live into. That sounds beautiful and amazing, and I believe we can do many pieces of that by just showing up as best we can as ourselves. But let's start with reality. This has been a hard week in many ways, in our nation, around the world, just right here in our community. I want to lift up a few people in our community. Heartfelt condolences to our youth coordinator, Corey Smith, and his wife, Missy, on the loss of her nephew, Andrew Rice, who died in an act of violence this week. We also hold space for Sharon Harris's family, family member Jashari Jackson, who died also of an act of violence on July 28th. She was only 23 years old. We extend our compassion and presence to all these families, both here and around the world, who have been victims of violence this past week. We also want to hold space for our member Floretta Reed and her family, who lost her cousin, Dorothy Williams. And also, we're thinking of the former governor of Oklahoma, George Nye, who passed away this past weekend. Also thinking of member Janie Livingston and her family. She's at home on hospice. And we're also thinking of my father-in-law, Sam Gugliata, my wife's father, who is also on hospice at this time. And so thinking of all those who are in the hospital and who have illnesses. We're thinking particularly of Heather Lawson, one of our members right now. The pace of change, the loss of life to violence here and around the world, it can leave us breathless. And so we pause. We come together and we pause and breathe in and breathe out. And as we continue to breathe, let us lift up our hearts together. Let us offer ourselves fully to this life, to all of it. Thankful for where we've been, expectant for where we're headed, offering ourselves to the world as we breathe our way more fully into this moment in silence together.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change, a life from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change, a life from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
"23 years ago, I stood on this chancel and delivered my very first sermon. I was 17. The youth group had taken over the stage, as they had each year before us, and as they have each year in the decades since. We played Weezer a bit too loud on electric guitar. If you want to destroy my sweater. And we bared our hearts. And we shared our very unwavering opinions about the world. And we were celebrated and held in all our weird and wonderful teenage paradox, certain and doubtful, arrived and unformed. And I loved it up here. 10 years later, I was installed as minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbia, Missouri, 340 miles up the road, and began a vocational life that is more full of joy and sorrow and beauty and wonder than I could have ever dreamed. This work has been a blossoming for me, and it started right here, nurtured by people in this room and by many now gone. 36 years ago, my parents walked into this incongruously New England-style sanctuary in Tulsa with its soothing mint green carpet and its shining clear windows. They arrived seeking help with an imaginative and kind of fearful kindergartner who was asking them very hard questions about life and death and meaning and eternity and who's this Jesus guy everybody's talking about? And they knew that if they took me somewhere else, I would probably be offered certainty and maybe also fear and control by the religious status quo. And they wanted something freer and more beautiful for me. So they came here. And we were welcomed and held. And I was given so much spiritual space to explore, and the enduring gift of music from an unmatched choir program. And later, when I vowed to share my life with my spouse, I was standing right there. And when I came to grieve the death of each of my grandparents, it was these pews and their sliding cushions that caught my tears. The ashes of Clara Walt and Robert L. rest amid these grounds just behind me, lending phosphorus to blades of grass and roots of trees. They are held here too, even in death. And I have nearly finished my ode to this place, and we'll lay off the mush in a moment, but what I want to tell you, dear All Souls, is that I carry you with me in my bones, as a deepest companion to my grief and as a rich source of my thriving. So do countless others who grew up here and now bloom elsewhere, or who are here still. This place and all that it means is a generational inheritance that so many carry with us, and that you are nurturing now for all who are still to come. But more than that, what I want to tell you, what I invite you to remember every single day, is that you carry each other that way too. It is why you are here, to companion one another in grief and to build up collective thriving. Especially now, when there is so much to grieve and such high stakes for the well-being of each and all. You are here to hold each other and to hold faith with today's children and tomorrow's too, as all of our shared questions about life and death and meaning quiver in the shadow of a great and growing brutality. As mothers in Gaza count their babies' protruding rib bones and still give thanks they are in their arms and not under some rubble. As parents and grandparents and neighbors are kidnapped off the streets by masked vigilantes and sent to torturous and overcrowded work camps. As unaccompanied preschoolers, what a sinful phrase, are left to defend themselves in immigration court. As our social safety nets are slashed and then burned for good measure, while the inherent wealth of the earth and its people are plundered and hoarded by billionaires. Let's pause. Is your jaw clenching? Is your pulse rising? There is clarity in our rage, and we need it. But too much can harden us, and we are made of such soft flesh. Look around. We are small creatures in the face of such widespread brutality, but we are not helpless on this earth. We are fiercely tender, and we're not alone. Which is why we must leave the newspapers at home sometimes, or switch off the phone or the 24-hour news and go out among the trees and come to be with this community of thriving and of grief. Because the cruelty of empire consolidates power through our separation and grows from our despair. It attempts through overwhelming horror to pin us down and keep us there, and the only way to really resist is with our care for one another. So we must metabolize the outrage and reach deeper toward our grief. Let it move through you. Here in this sanctuary anointed by the tears of generations. The ache of knowing how beautiful this life can be and seeing how cruel it has all become. The deep and wounding gap between how the world is right now and how we cannot stop ourselves from dreaming it could be. It is good and right to grieve the terrible betrayals of our humanity, and this place was built, brick by brick and heart by heart, to hold that grief with you, to face the tragic in us together. This place, this community of all souls, is wide and deep enough to carry the anguish of it with us. This place is wide and deep, and it is a sanctuary for our sorrow, but it is also a crucible for our transformation. Because our grief is deep, but it is also powerful. Powerful because grief is always made of love. Powerful because hearts joined together in weeping can't be unjoined again. And hearts intertwined are a formidable force. For 13 years now, I have been involved in faith-based community organizing in Colombia, building power in relationships to effectively fight together for our dignity as neighbors. And early on, I went through an organizing storytelling training that asked us to get in touch with our heartache as the fuel for our work together. And so the trainers asked us each to tell a story of our pain and how it moved us to join with others for change. And I didn't wanna. The trainer pushed me, none too gently. You will never find your power, she told me, if you won't touch your heartbreak. They live in the same place, she said. and you will be neither effective nor faithful to others in your solidarity without it. So I have been chipping away at the walls around my heart ever since. I am still chiseling toward that soft and molten core. And magic happens. In joining my sorrow with the suffering of my neighbors, I have found such a fierce commitment to all of our thriving. I have learned that the pathway to that thriving leads directly through our grief. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. And I'll confess that in this moment, the grief part feels easier to access than the thriving. See, in that organizing work and in volunteering with my local mutual aid collective and bail fund, I have become obsessed with a really beautiful vision of the world where all of us can thrive because none of us is disposable. A world that looks a lot like the poem I read earlier, where we share the earth's abundance and connect with its cycles and connect deeply with each other. And in that work for that world, I have seen glimpses, glimmers, firefly-sized sparks of the world that my community is building together. It is glowing in the places where we love each other well in really material ways, and especially across difference. I have seen it. And I bet you have seen it, because you are a part of a community too. But I find myself checking those glimpses of beauty against the much larger cruelty playing out so loudly around us. I find myself thinking, how could I focus on thriving amid such great and global grief? I wondered this aloud to my spouse the other night. Is giving so much attention to small acts of thriving here a betrayal of the great many who are suffering everywhere? How can our little bail fund make a difference in the shadow of an alligator Alcatraz? That, he told me, is exactly what they want you to think. They are hoping that their grand, cruel gestures will crush the millions of wild, loving acts that are springing up in every corner of this nation and every part of our world. They want our love to feel hopeless, pointless, because otherwise it is too wild and too powerful for them to control. Which is exactly why we cannot let them crush our care. Why we will build thriving where we are as the resistance to their enormous cruelty. Which is why we will power it with our broken hearts. And yes, our mutual care might feel like tiny droplets against the walls they are rising, but have you seen what water does to stone? Have you seen their terror in the face of our growing solidarity? Their flailing distractions as we turn toward one another in renewed communion, in a renewed commitment to building community. The authoritarians want us to give up on each other and give up on thriving because that is how they expect to win. They want us to give up on each other. But thank goodness we come from a long line of universalists who put their faith in a love that doesn't give up on anyone, that won't let us go. Thank goodness we come from a long line of Unitarians who insist upon the potential in human nature, who know that we can still be better than we have ever yet been. And you know what? Thank God we come from Oklahoma, in relationship with long lineages of indigenous knowledge about surviving apocalypse, and long lineages of African American wisdom about building and rebuilding thriving beyond vigilante violence and state repression. We come from Dust Bowl customs of communal care and broken wagon wheel reliance on neighbor. We come preaching inclusion in a place of religious oppression, and we come deepening into curiosity, even amid fundamentalisms. Truly, who knows better than an Oklahoma Unitarian Universalist how to question and trouble and refuse the authority of somebody else? Who knows better than an Oklahoma UU how to show up as neighbors in our time of need? We have always been here seeking something freer and more beautiful. And yes, the suffering pounds down from on high, but liberation grows up from the roots, especially as we water it with our tears of joy and sorrow. Thriving flowers out from your heart to mine when the walls around our hearts have fallen. Which is why we will not remain glued to our seats watching the news from above. We will take our attention back from an empire that wants us frozen in its thrall. We will give that attention to our neighbors instead, sharing our suffering with those who can soothe it, and drawing close to those whose suffering we can soothe. We will live liberation together in small ways with a handful of conspirators and watch what grows. Because love is alive and well in the moments between us. It is growing beyond belief even now. It is at work on Monday in the gardens we tend and on Tuesday in the roofs we repair. It is at work on Wednesday when we weep for all we have lost, on Thursday when we learn each other's stories, and on Friday when we speak each other's names like a blessing. Love lives on Saturday when we rest and feast and hold each other close, and on Sunday, again and again, when we invite more neighbors to dream with us and work with us and belong with us here in this place of sorrow and hope and ever-growing love. Thank you for being all souls to me. Thank you for being all souls to each other. Thank you for being all souls to a world that needs our care.
This old world is full of sorrow, full of sickness, weak and sore. If you love your neighbor truly, love will come to you the more. This old world, full of sorrow, this old world. This old world can be a garden full of fragrance, full of grace. If we love our neighbor truly, we must meet them face to face. It is said, now love thy neighbor, and we know that is true. This the Psalm for me, and that's true for me as well as you.
my goodness, beautiful music from the Loft. Thank you, Molly, for bringing us your powerful words this morning. Getting involved in your community, in your city, is a great way to help it grow, to help it become more just. And giving what you can help it thrive. One of our traditions here at All Souls is to give our offering away to an organization in our community that's doing good works in the world. We do this as a practice of living our values of love and service. This week's offering goes to the YWCA of Tulsa. Now, if you didn't know, this is what some of the things they do, and this is not a complete list. The YWCA of Tulsa is dedicated to eliminating racism, empowering women, promoting justice, peace, freedom, and dignity for everyone. Please give generously when the offering plate comes around. Now, I know many of you have been working on your social calendars for this fall, and as you're doing so, don't forget, November 1st is our Love and Light Gala at Southern Hills. It is a celebration of All Souls, and I love doing this because sometimes he gives me a look, celebrating Reverend Dr. Marlin's 25 years here. So, plans made. November 1st, tickets are on sale. It's a great fundraiser, and 10% of the proceeds help support our social justice teams. Now, every Sunday is Joining Sunday at All Souls, so if you're ready to become a member at All Souls or want more information about membership, please meet me at 12:45 today in room 203. And also, if you're new or newish or you're visiting for the first time here at All Souls, we invite you to Sonnen Library after this service. You go out the doors to the left, across the foyer, and there'll be some folks or welcoming souls there to greet you and answer questions that you may have about this community. And next Sunday afternoon, do not miss it, August 10th, our next Justice Jam. We've tightened up the schedule, so after the second service, lunch is going to begin serving, and we're going to do a brief introduction, and we're going to get to our speaker. And our speaker is no other than Carlos Marino, Tulsa historian, author, and All Souls member. And he's going to help us through his talk next Sunday, August 10th, after the second service. He's going to tell us and to help us explore the complicated history of All Souls and the city of Tulsa. His working title is How to Do Better When We Know Better. I hope to see you all there. It's going to be fabulous. Catered lunch, powerful presentation. What a combo. For information on all these events, you can check out your order of service. It talks about some upcoming program expos on the back. And most importantly, check out our website. There is so much going on here at All Souls, and there is something for everyone.
What a treat. What a treat to have Rick Fortner back with us. Yes. Our music director emeritus of All Souls. Great to have you back with us. Anytime. Come back all the time, anytime. You're always welcome. Yes. So before, yes, we love you, Rick. Before we go, and I'd like to invite Molly to say some good words for us to take with us into this week. Maybe we can have the first week of the rest of our lives and make it a little bit better than anything that's come before us. I just want to say, listening to Molly, the Reverend Dr. Molly Hausch, listening to her reminded me that we raised some pretty impressive children in this congregation. You know, who go on to be just powerful, articulate, insightful adults who are making a difference in this world. So it matters that we show up, that we create community together, and that we help raise the next generation to keep this going. So Molly, can you leave us with
Thank
something?
you. Well, we close the same way every week in Columbia, and I cribbed it directly from Marlon. So may you go and love and be love to a world that needs our care.